is the history of a little-known and highly classified U.S. Army Special Forces detachment that was stationed in Berlin, Germany from 1956 to 1990. It came into existence in response to the threat posed by the massive armies of the Soviet Union and its Warsaw Pact allies to the nations of Western Europe. The conventional wisdom at the time was that the Soviet hordes would quickly overrun the defenses of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. U.S. military planners decided they needed a Hail Mary plan to slow the juggernaut they expected when and if a war began. That ace in the hole was Special Forces Berlin. Its primary mission, in the words of the Supreme Allied Commander Europe, was simple: buy me time, any time at all. It was openly known by several names through its 34-year history: Security Platoon, Detachment A, and finally, Physical Security Support Element. Its classified names were 39th Special Forces Detachment, as of 1965, and 410th Special Forces Detachment, as of 1984. It was a unique unit with skills that combined unconventional warfare, UW, and intelligence tradecraft with counterterrorism, CT, operations. It was a legacy of the Office of Strategic Services, OSS, of World War II, and a pioneer of CT tactics and techniques. Its story began thus. Shortly after the end of World War II, the United States began to reevaluate cooperation with its wartime ally, the Soviet Union. George Kennan's famous telegram outlining the dangers posed by Moscow to the West was a key element that forced a swing in Washington from one of sympathy for the communist experiment to a realization that the Soviet threat should be contained. During this Cold War, the divided city of Berlin was the center of a struggle that pitted the Soviet Union and its Warsaw Pact brothers-in-arms against the United States and its NATO allies. It was one that would last until the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. Situated 110 miles inside the Soviet-controlled German Democratic Republic, the city of Berlin was home to the world's most powerful intelligence services as they played a game of shadows, each seeking advantage over their enemies. But it was not just intelligence services that tussled in this shadow war for supremacy. In 1956, a small select group of U.S. Army Special Forces soldiers arrived in the city. Working unseen alongside the conventional American, British, and French combat troops who occupied West Berlin, the SF element's classified wartime mission was to strike the enemy's rear areas, create chaos and confusion, and provide crucial time for the Allied forces in Western Europe to meet and hopefully check a Soviet onslaught. These men stayed on alert to meet the threat. The first 40 men who came to Berlin in mid-1956 were soon reinforced by 50 more, and these 90 soldiers and their successors would stand ready to go to war in a hostile area occupied by nearly 1 million Warsaw Pact forces until 1990. If war came, some of these men would stay in Berlin to fight the enemy, while others would cross the most heavily defended border in the world and disappear into the countryside to accomplish their tasks behind Soviet lines. Many men served with Special Forces Detachment Berlin over its 34 years. Their presence in that city was cloaked with a banal cover story that obscured the enigmatic truth. There is no good or easy way to characterize what type of men they were. A few were administrative or logistics specialists, some were medics, and most were combat arms experts. Many were native-born Americans, but a good number came from Eastern Europe. Their backgrounds were varied and their cultural differences many. They did, however, have one common ground: a sense of duty and a willingness to defend freedom. One thing is certain: no one became famous because of his exploits in Berlin. They were classified. If a soldier achieved a measure of fame or notoriety, it was for what he did in other theaters and fields of battle, such as Vietnam, the Belgian Congo, Somalia, Iraq, and Afghanistan. A disproportionate number of the men who served there rose to positions of great responsibility in other special forces and special mission units and major army commands. When they moved on, they took their experience and skills with them. Even after the Berlin